Thanks for watching. It's been several months since I've made any videos or any podcasts for that matter, and I've been very busy preparing a new grimoire that's really been in the works for years, entitled Draga, Yatuptino of Airmen. And this, along with other works, is going to, in a deeper sense, define some of the sorcerous and magical practices in one avenue of Luciferian practice. But today, I'm going to really get down to basics and discuss Luciferianism, Black and White Magic. It's very important to define these from a Luciferian perspective, including a left-hand path in general perspective. To first begin, culture really has influenced, and when I say culture, by Judeo-Christian ideology and so-called morals, based on the writers and those who determine what is black and white. Since Christian writers have historically written about so-called magical practices, a lot of my research goes to the sources which are before Christian elements have infected them, so I can better gain a perspective of the balance of practice. I'll first say that, you know, whether it's Satanism, Luciferianism, and general cultism, including pagans and even Wiccans, that the consensus is there is black and white magic. And those who practice black magic are often making pacts with demons, cursing people, destroying things, which goes back to the medieval Christian idea that witches curse crops and things like that, not to mention our modern media, TV, movies, etc. White magic is a push by pagans and Wiccans to really defend themselves against the accusing Christian culture in saying that they practice things other than what the true God demands. Modern pagans accept this white magic idea, this duality, as a defensive approach from the Christian offensive. And there's a danger in doing that, and it really takes pagans and Wiccans and other magic practitioners, essentially ones involved in harmony, if you will, with nature, in that by removing all of the so-called destructive or predatory aspects and saying that you only practice white magic and earth magic, you're actually acting contrary to nature and not within a logical perspective of the entire picture. For instance, Luciferianism is based around the role and the aspects of nature itself. All humans in base and all living beings continue life from feeding on something else, whether it's vegetation, plants, whether it's animals. And Luciferians recognize the need for balance, in that everything has a creative and a destructive aspect of its being and its role. For instance, if an animal in nature, let's say a reptile, a snake, feeds on a rat, it doesn't do it to torture, harm, or maliciously just attack the rat. It does it quickly to survive, to eat. It's a survival instinct. Humans have taken it over, since the beginning of time, to the next level of amplifying that for their own ends. Christianity, one of the greatest culprits in that. Luciferians deny that there is duality, a completely evil being, a completely good being. And in doing that, we can understand that all deities, all archetypes, spirits, demons, whatever, have a creative and a destructive aspect to their symbol, their energy. Just as storms create, bring fertilization to the earth, remove debris, whatever, and storms also destroy. The sun brings warmth, life, growth, beauty. But the sun can also destroy in extreme heat. We see this in all things in nature. Luciferians embrace that we are both creators and destroyers, that we have impulses from our reptilian brains through evolution, and that we should accept those. The difference is we must learn to balance the creative with the destructive. Luciferians don't seek to harm other people unless in a self-defense situation. We may not like certain people, but as a primary Luciferian ideology foundation point is all people, like Aleister Crowley with Thelema indicated, all people have the right to their own will, to do their own will. Now, Luciferians look at, as you'll see in all of my grimoires and studies and published works, that there are many pantheons within Luciferianism that one may embrace. Use a central mode of philosophy, ideology, and foundation to approach those. New Luciferians, I urge to read Dragon of the Two Flames, all of the beginning chapters on ideology, slowly removing the concept of duality, good and evil. Anton LaVey made a major point with the Satanic Bible in that we have all these elements and we have to find a release for those impulses, but also a control, and that we as primary individuals have the responsibility to determine our own destiny, barring accident, etc. We have that choice here and now as thinking, logical beings. But before you can embrace magic, spirituality, and all that area of the unseen, you have to begin with formulating, controlling, and bringing discipline to your thoughts, your words, your actions. In shaping those, you begin to roll something downhill which gathers more as it rolls, and that is the momentum of your will upon earth. Luciferians embrace a wide variety of pantheons, and in all of these pantheons of the ancient Near East, let's go from Greece, from Persia, from Mesopotamia, from the Syrian or Canaanite, from the Egyptian, all of these deities have relations to nature and to the human being. And they, as symbols, guide and govern nature and our experience within it. All of them have been, over time in history, assimilated and through syncretism identified in other pantheons. To simplify that, you could look at, say, Zeus, and by the way, Zeus in the letters of Paul in the Judeo-Christian texts, was assimilated and identified with Satan as the adversary, because it was an old god opposing the Judeo-Christian one. All of those have aspects, say, with Ahura Mazda. And the Persians, and I'm not talking about the hardcore Zoroastrian religion, but the actual literal practice, embraced creative and destructive aspects. Demonology, in a modern sense, is derived from Kabbalah and the Qliphoth. And I urge people not to get deeply into Kabbalah, and that is because it is based around the the Hebrew idea that Yahweh is the precursor of the Judeo-Christian God. Yahweh is the one that all must go to and surrender their mind, body, and spirit to. And all others are demons and destructive forces. Luciferians say, no, I'm not putting myself in a defeat before I begin mode. Embrace symbols or energies as pre-Christian champions of character traits of conquering, intelligence, strength, self-determined destiny. Demonology is a primal study and practice of messengers or occurrences in nature within humanity through our will. And demons, or rebel spirits, as you will, if you're interested in Judeo-Christian demonology, lead us to self-liberation. That's why many Luciferians and Satanists embrace that first, but there's a whole wide variety of practice. Pagans and Wiccans can identify with even Satanism and Luciferianism in that, in nature, it destroys and creates. Luciferians have to approach our practice as this way, is that we are selfish beings, but selfish means that we understand what we want and need, and that in general, between friends, family, loved ones, we should do what's beneficial for not only ourselves, but to make them happy as well, because that's how we would like that reciprocated. In nature and in the practice of magic, very rarely should you spend time cursing people. If you're doing things right, they kind of move out of the way on their own in time. So that's very important. The concept of black magic, the word black is from an Arabic root FHM, which means wisdom, insight, knowledge. Black is where we begin in the darkness. From evolution, we crawled from the depths of the ocean in various forms. And we had these lustful and destructive impulses already within us. Black magic is about controlling those and shaping them through our higher intellect over time and our insight and experience, directing and shaping them according to the will of the individual. So understand, there is no black and white magic. There is magic. And if you're working in demonology and talismans, those are for general short-term goals. So spending time cursing people or trying to compel some girl to love you when you don't have the skill set to, or chemistry combination to make that happen is futile. So Luciferianism is about acknowledging the good and the bad about yourself and shaping it to a more beneficial and self-directed manner. So I challenge all those Luciferians or people interested to read Dragon of the Two Flames, Necrominion, any of my grimoires, and understand that ideology is paramount to the practice, and that you will experience much insight and gain insight from the practice of magic, but the ideology is first and foremost. That's why one of the reasons I was a co-founder of Luciferian Apotheca is to offer a shopping ground, if you will, for people to obtain those things that in most mainstream occult stores and so forth, the so-called left-hand path is often a corner. Well, it's time to change that and redefine it based on the reality of nature and the practice that we hold so dear to ourselves. Thanks for tuning in. More to come.